Thank you, Citrix, for having us. This is going to be a great event. The first thank goes to Gigi for putting all this together. So that's the driving force. She kept all of us in line, so I'll tell you who us is. My name is Bob Phipps. I'm the interim executive director of TechLauderdale. I've been a board member for about 4 years. I think some of y'all are probably familiar with South Florida Technology Alliance, which is a 20-plus-year-old organization whose mission is to grow the South Florida tech ecosystem. And this past year, we've been fortunate enough to form a joint venture with the Broward Workshop, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And they have brought us members, their brain power, their manpower, and helped us transform the organization. So we rebranded as TechLauderdale. We've done probably 95% of our events here in Broward anyway, so it wasn't that big of a change, and we're delighted to have the partnership with them. So this is what we do, among other things. We put on probably 50-plus events a year. Our flagship event is a month from today, IT Palooza. I think, raise your hand if you've ever heard of it. Well, that's good to know. So we typically have about 1,500 people there. It's one of the largest gatherings of the South Florida tech ecosystem, and we'll hope you'll be there. You can go to itpalooza.org to learn more. As I said, I'm the interim executive director, and I'm happy to announce that last week we've hired our real executive director. I'm really happy. Cecil Kidd, if you're here, if you could stand and wave to the crowd. Everybody welcome Cecil Kidd back to South Florida. He'll be starting in the beginning of December. Is Kristen Crawford here tonight? Yeah. Kristen, can you?
Hi, everyone.
So why is Kristen important? An organization like ours only survives with members who want to get involved, volunteer for our events, get behind what we're doing, help us grow this ecosystem. So not only do we do events, but we're doing things like starting a STEM internship program and a variety of other things. So if you'd like to become a member of TechLauderdale, you can look online at techlauderdale.org, or the lovely Kristen would be more than happy to talk to you. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Boyle, who's our Director of Marketing and a board member for a number of years, and she's really the driving force to conceptualize this event and put it together. So let's thank Kelly for all of her hard work.
Okay, so before we get started, for those of you that may or may not know about TechLauderdale, we do want to just let you know about some of our upcoming events. We also did talk about IT Palooza, but every month we do host some events. I saw everybody out there drinking beers, so we do host some events called V-Beers once a week in different locations. And thanks to John McLaughlin for putting that together. Thank you, John. Raise your hand. So John has been hosting these for how many years, John? How many years, John, have you been hosting V-Beers?
250 meetings.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
That's right. We're Tech Lauderdale. We count things in meetings, not years. Okay. So anyway, you can see here, the different dates and so forth, and we host one a week in different locations. You're welcome to come join us, see what they're all about, network, meet some great people. Awesome. So I also have the great opportunity tonight to introduce our sponsor. Scott is the Director of Sales, or you're a former with Citrix, right? Former Citrix? Yes, former Citrix. Woo!
Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. So we go back to 1989. I worked with Mark Templeton in New York City, and with Land Systems, and then we went out to Oregon. A gentleman who was in the audience, Mr. Bill Burley, said, "Hey, we're getting web feet. Let's get out of here." And he came into Citrix, and I shortly followed. I was employee number 25. I was in inside sales. So we were slinging boxes of software. We were slinging boxes of software, OS2. Right? And then I have my copy of WinFrame over there, and a lot of disks and things of that nature. We actually have one of the original partners, Microvision, right there, Glenn Holmes, in the audience. Without him, so it was about, so the SEC, it wasn't as rigorous as it was now, right? So we would at the end of the quarter, Randy's in the audience too. Randy would go in the room with Oscar and do a distribution deal. Glenn would take a wall of WinFrame, So we take a picture and you'd send it to us, so the big part of it for me was the relationship, the partner building and the relationship, the trust. So I wouldn't be here today without Bill. Bill helped me get into the company and then catapulted my career. And so the whole thing, so throughout this journey, so I'm now at the back end of the journey as a partner, right? So, Xentegra was the 2019 Partner of the Year for Citrix, outstanding group. I'm very honored to be with them. So the most rewarding thing for me, in closing, I wanted to be brief, is it someone's phone?
No, it's like the Academy Awards.
Walk off.
Yeah, so the most rewarding thing for me at the end of the day, I was ending now. I accept this award on behalf of, and I thank God. So if you look at the industry today, so Citrix created the end user computing space. Ed, Roger, Mark, David, had the chance to work with all of them incredible people. I learned so much. And what's the most rewarding to me was all the people that work for me that are in the industry today. I had the ability to enable people and grow their careers, and they're in the ecosystem as we speak. So having said that, maybe I went over time, but I wanted to introduce our CTO, Pete Downing from Xentegra, and he's gonna give a couple points as well. Thank you for your time today.
So I recognize a lot of folks in this room. And first off, I'm going to say thanks to Chris and Mark and Dave. You guys helped me get my career kick-started, and I'll tell a little story in a minute, Mark. I think you know the one I'm going to tell. But before I do, can anybody guess what this number is? Because I count my events a different way.
Number of employees.
No.
Number of deals.
Almost. But this is how many people we've trained since we started Xentegra. So if you go to the next slide really quick, and Andy will be embarrassed, but this is our CEO, Andy, and founder. You're going to learn one thing about Xentegra. We're all ex-Citrites, a lot of us are. Andy started the company on two premises. One, he wanted to enable the community, so I kind of came in and I took over that and really run a lot of our workshops. So if you go on our site, you'll see a lot of the workshops we do are focused on Citrix, focused on our vendors who we sell. But two, he also wanted to be a true partner. So we want to redefine how we partner with companies, and we really go out and focus on not only selling product, but helping the customer get it up and running. And Citrix Cloud's a great example of that. It's one of my favorite products in the stack. A lot of the guys in the room, I do a lot. So Harsh, I talk to you every week now. Yeah. So that's a little bit about Xentegra, but I want to tell a little story. It was back in 2007. And Mark's laughing because he knows what I'm talking about. I get a phone call. I used to work for a guy named Lou Shipley, and I get this phone call. I just turned 30, by the way. It was my 30th birthday, and Mark, or Lou comes up to me and asks, "Hey Pete, do you know Ardents?" I go, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "I have Mark Templeton on the phone, and I need you to come to my office." And I said, "All right." And so I go in, I sit down. I'm this I'm new to the whole. And Mark goes, "Hey, I need to build this demo. I want to boot 30 servers on stage, and I want to have all these monitors. Pete, can you do it?" Remember that? Yeah. And I go, "Well, I need servers." And he goes, "Hey, you got an unlimited budget. Just make it happen." And it was in Las Vegas. And so I'm calling every vendor, and I order 32 servers, a server rack, 32 monitors, have them shipped to Las Vegas, and then go the next day with an intern, and we spend a week in a room building a demo. And it was probably, I still think, the best demo that we've had. But Mark pulled the fast one on me. He walked up and pulled the hard drive out of the machine. I don't know that. And so I'm sitting there going, "Oh man." And that's what honestly got my career started.
It's actually way more impressive than the way he's explaining it. See me after the...
and if anybody can get the video of that would be pretty much appreciated. I can't find the video anywhere, so if anybody can help me get that video, I would love you. So anyway, thank you, and thank you for allowing us to be a sponsor, and we'd love to be more involved, so thank you.
Thank you. We have a few other sponsors I do want to mention. We have meetup table sponsors, Mahoney Associates, so thank you, Bill, for sponsoring. And Sherlock Talent as well. Sherlock Talent is in also. Thank you, Alex, for sponsoring. And we also had a beer sponsor this evening. So for those of you that don't know, No Go Brewing is actually in Boynton Beach and founded by a former Citrix. So very cool. So we have Citrix all over, like founding businesses, making things happen. So very cool. So for those of you that don't know me, unfortunately, I am not a former Citrix, although I wish I was, but that's okay. I'm just going to pretend today. But I'm very passionate about history of technology and very passionate about Citrix. I'm very proud to be in the local community of Citrix. So thank you all for doing what you do and for making things happen. So I want to do a quick introduction about Citrix founders. So for those of you who aren't aware, or maybe are new to the community, Ed Iacobucci was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1953. His family immigrated here at the age of 7, right? At the age of 10, sorry, age of 10, my bad. Age of 10, and I thought it was kind of cool. His father was a biochemist, and at the time worked for the predecessor to Bristol Myers Squibb, which was E.R. Squibb and Sons. So that's why he moved here to the U.S., which was pretty cool. My aunt actually worked for Bristol Myers Squibb for like 20 years, so really neat coincidence. So Ed then went on, as he grew up, to graduate from Georgia Tech with a Bachelor's of Science in Engineering in 1975. He began his career shortly after at IBM in 1979 and worked on the commercial software and personal computer business. He was actually the lead architect for the joint IBM-Microsoft design team responsible for OS/2, which was based in Boca Raton. So, just to keep in his logo. So, in 1989, Ed left IBM to co-found Citrix Systems. And we also have one of the other co-founders in the room, Randy, so thank you so much for being a part of it. So Ed and Randy left to co-found Citrix, and Ed led the company as chairman and CTO through its market and product development phases. And in 1998, after he built up the company to fantastic heights, he received the Ernst & Young International Entrepreneur of the Year Award. And Nancy mentioned to me that he was the only person to win the national and the international award. So that, I mean, what an accomplishment. So, right, one person, absolutely. So that's fantastic. So anyway, so Ed is here in spirit. And so anyway, so I just thought, let's talk a little bit about Citrix, or should I say Citrus, as it began. And so when the folks at IBM discontinued development of the OS/2 in the late 1980s, the OS/2 team decided to continue working on OS/2 and left the IBM ownership, created a software startup at that time called Citrus, which later was rebranded to Citrix. Originally it was a pun, I guess, on the fruit growing industry here in Florida. So, but they raised $3 million in capital to pursue continued development in server-based computing. And Ed Iacobucci took on the role of chairman and CTO. And he also appointed Texas Instruments veteran Roger Roberts as CEO. And hired 5 other engineers from IBM. Also, at this time, Microsoft and Intel were among the initial investors. Microsoft, obviously, because they had concerns about potential impact to their PC business and because they could see growth potential for their server industry. And Intel, because they wanted to drive demand for higher performance and higher priced chipsets for their server platform. So the team set out to create a new segment of the IT world called server-based computing. And everyone, investors, along with their customers, benefited. So we're going to share the story few-minute video, if you guys don't mind. This was actually put out on the 25-year anniversary of Citrix, so, but you can imagine there was obviously more after this, but they didn't stop growing and imagining and innovating, but at least it gives you an idea. So here.
The workplace looked a little different 25 years ago. The personal computer was a mere 7 years old. Memos were still sent by paper, and mobile devices had yet to fit in our pockets. 1989 was also the year two young software engineers at the biggest technology company in the world did the unthinkable. They left their comfortable careers, set out to change how the world works, and ended up changing the world. In a small office with orange shag carpet, a startup was born. Joined by like-minded visionaries with one very powerful idea, the remarkable company they founded was Citrix. And what they stood for then is something that still defines us today. That first decade, people thought we were crazy. Distributed PCs were the norm. Then along comes Citrix, talking about server-based computing and centralized apps and data. We were accused of reinventing the mainframe, of being backward-looking. Not everyone got it. Our conviction to make information access as simple as a phone call for anyone, any place, and any time, and build a virtual workplace gained more attention and traction. After a while, people did start to get it. Our product portfolio grew. Our platform became even more powerful. We virtualized apps, desktops, servers, and even meetings, all while building one of the greatest partner ecosystems in the industry. By the end of our second decade, our vision for the virtual workplace of the future no longer seemed far-fetched at all. We were making the virtual workplace real. Today, Citrix is the backbone for the world's largest clouds, enabling businesses to grow, thrive, and continually amaze. Today, Citrix is delivering the world's most comprehensive mobility platform, so everything works simply, seamlessly, securely, across devices, locations, and networks. Today, Citrix has enabled a new mobile workforce, allowing millions of people to work on their own terms and focus on what really matters, enjoying their life's work. Looking forward, we see ourselves as the only company prepared to help businesses embrace mobility in a world where change is the only constant. No matter what form devices take, our vision of the future will continue to enable new ways of working, continue to make IT simpler, and help people work better. After all, mobility isn't just good for business, it's good for people. So here's to imagination, innovation, and embracing the yet to be discovered. Here's to staying true to what you believe in. And here's to the next 25 years for all of us.
It's pretty cool to see some of those faces here in the room today, so thank you all for being part of it today. So, just thought this was kind of interesting that you probably noticed in the video. Over the past 25, 30 years, Citrix has maintained a similar vision, and common theme in their vision throughout the years. And basically that is any device, anytime, anywhere. So they had thought of this many moons ago, back in 1998. Many other, let's say, providers, etc., are thinking of this now, and they said, hey, you know what, we did this a long time ago. But you can kind of see over the years the evolution of not only the Citrix logo, but also you can see the evolution of the vision statement. So, okay. Citrix has also been focused on the future of work throughout their 30-year history. And obviously, I think that's kind of like the unique thing that Citrix is really working on now, is that, where can we work, how can we work, and what types of devices and so forth, and then how do we secure those devices. So it's pretty neat to see, over time, the evolution and the journey to the digital workspace. So also, I find it very interesting, you can kind of see here over time that any great entrepreneur knows that you need to learn to pivot or change when the market changes or when technology changes. And you can see, even from when Citrix first IPO'd, that they had a focus on, let's say, access, then collaboration, networking, visualization, mobile, and cloud over time. But they said, you know what, let's stay true to our goal of anytime, anywhere, any place that people can access their data and information. But over time, they have pivoted when needed. So where's Citrix now? So obviously they didn't stop at the 25-year mark. They continued, and we have proof right here. So, so Citrix at this time has over 100 million customers, 400,000 organizations, including 99% of the Fortune 500. Can you imagine working with 99% of the Fortune 500? I mean, how awesome is that? And over 8,000 employees, 10,000 partners, plus, in 100 countries or more, at 13.2 billion in market cap and over 3 billion in revenue. And a significant amount of that success is due to these gentlemen here up at the front. So thank you so much for making Citrix, for building Citrix, and this Citrix. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Chris Black, Vice President and Technical Fellow at Citrix, who's going to be our moderator and introduce our distinguished panel and start the panel discussion. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Pat. It would be dangerous having some marketing folks ahead of me. So, yeah, thanks for all being here. Thanks especially Citrites. And just to clarify, once you're a Citrite, you're always a Citrite. There's alums and past employees, but once you're a Citrite, you're always that. And so, yeah, we're really honored here to have the history that we've got. It's amazing. And let's just jump right into it, right? We've got Roger Roberts, Mark Templeton, David Henschel. Roger, why don't you take us back to how did this get started? How did you meet Ed? What was it that you recognized? What did you see in Citrus or in this little company in Florida that appealed to you? Like, what was it that got you over the hurdle to say, all right? You didn't live here, right? Or what? Tell us. How did you get convinced? I'm still not sure why.
Trick question. Is it working now? Let's see. I think Randy can back me up on this a little bit. When Ed was out and Randy were out trying to raise venture funds for Citrix, the guys up at 7 Roads in venture capital, for some reason called me up. At the time, I was reputed to have a technical brain. And so they called me and said, we'll pay you to come up this weekend. We'll meet this guy, 2 guys, Iacobucci and Randy Wood. And I want you to listen to their presentation, and I want you to tell us if it'll work or not. Can you imagine spending 24 hours with Ed Iacobucci being expected to say yes or no? But But I think we worked all night long, didn't we, Randy? And I said, I think this is a really good idea. I think it's a match made in heaven for my particular background and qualifications. I spent my early life programming system software. It was going to be a indirect channel sales model. It needed marketing, it needed sales, it needed distribution, it needed discipline, it needed structure, it needed all the things that I thought I could bring to the party. And I thought literally at the time that it could be, at the time sort of Novell was the model. They were about, if I remember right, about $500 million roughly in revenue. And I said, we can be bigger than Novell. We can be bigger than Novell. And so Randy and Ed and I got along well enough that they decided to work with me and let me be CEO. And I said, well, we all got to move to Texas, of course. And the venture guy said, well, we perceive it'll cost a lot less to move your butt to South Florida than people to Texas. And so I uprooted my life at the time. I had a really good job with Texas Instruments. I had worked in corporate America long enough that I could play the system like a drum. I was paying me good money. I was traveling around the world. I was living large. Had a son that was a senior at Georgia Tech and a daughter that was a senior in high school. And my other half, Mary, had just talked with me about 6 months before then and decided she'd start up her own accounting firm because I was going to be there with TI forever. And we came down and I looked at the system a little more thoroughly and had made what I thought later was a huge oversight. Ed had decided that since OS2 was going to take over the world, there was no need to put the compatibility box that ran DOS apps in our product. And I said, you mean it won't run DOS apps? It's just OS2 apps, of which there are none. He said, yep, that's right. If you knew Ed, that would be completely consistent. And I spent at least 2 sleepless nights wondering what in the world have I done. But I saw it as a wonderful opportunity on 2 or 3 fronts. Being a technical background and that kind of stuff, being creative is part of the process, whether you're solving problems or not. And I thought the greatest challenge in the world would be to start a company and create value out of nothing. And I thought that would be quite an accomplishment. Start with a piece of paper and build a world-class, worldwide company. And so that attracted me a lot. I thought I had the skill set that Citrix needed. And I don't think they could have hired another person in this universe to take that job.
I think you made the right choice. Thank you for that.
Yep.
So when, well, take us a little step forward to, the IPO, the growth, what was it, when did you know you made it, like you got over the hurdle?
When I survived a board meeting in January of 1993, when the board didn't absolutely kill me, I knew I made it. But the OS2 platform obviously didn't work out in the market. We had to go back to the venture guys and restart on Windows platform, and they said, well, we put our money in, you guys worked hard, this dog's not gonna hunt, so we're gonna shut the company down. But it was another shot, and they said if we would bring in outside money at the valuation we were looking for, they would contribute pro rata. And we were able to get Microsoft and Intel to invest, and that gave us the second round. That gave us the Windows platform development. We came out with WinView. We ran out of money 2 other times, but once we got the product going, and we had great success even with the early product, the thing that made the difference is we did an agreement with Novell. They had a crummy product, and we knew it was bad. So we went to them. This was Ed's idea. So let's go to Novell and let's tell them to ditch that crummy product and start referring us as a preferred partner if you want to get remote access to a network LAN. And so we went to them. I thought, that'd be good. I wish I'd thought of that. We went to them and made a proposition that we would take over support for their product. They would start referring our product. But the most important thing, oh, and by the way, they'd give us $1 million, not give us, but loan us, if you will, $1 million, and we would pay them back on royalty based on how many we sold. But the most important thing is they opened up their channel. At that time, they had actually a real good channel, value-added resellers worldwide, but they turned on their whole channel base, and that's when this business is about, you have a product and you have a customer, and the way you get to that customer, the channel loosely put, whether it's direct, indirect, whatever the technique is, I'm convinced the single most important thing in the world is that customer acquisition at a rapid rate. And it gave us instant access to hundreds of value-added resellers all around the country. And I knew when that happened, I knew intellectually at least, that we had turned the corner and hang on, and the rest is history.
It's great. That's really significant, and it continues to be, right? The partner channel continues to be a real significant impact and contribution to Citrix. So tell us, so Mark, how did you come to Citrix? What was the appeal? And did you even know about Citrix beforehand? Before you joined?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roger recruited me. Yeah, actually, Scott Kaplan, Bill Burley, and I worked with a fellow whose name is Tyrone Pike, who was a board member at the time here at Citrix, and he introduced me to Roger in 1993, 4, somewhere in there, and we met at PC Expo, I think it was, and in New York, the Javits Center. Talked for a little bit, and Roger invited me down, and I sort of, they were looking for a head of marketing, and I met everybody, and then Roger, at the end of the interview day, he took me back to the hotel and he said, I think you're on a fishing expedition, you're not serious about this. Which actually he was right. So then about, I don't know, a year later, something like that, Roger called me, a year and a half later, Roger called me and said, you want to take another look at this? And I said no. And he called me again, and I said no again. And that went on for a couple months. And finally, I said, all right, I don't have anything to lose. And so when I said yes, he said, okay, there's one condition. Very famous for doing that. That's kind of a routine. There's one condition. What's the condition? That when you're here, you have to decide on the spot. That's easy. I can say no. But there was nothing to it. So came and he did one hell of a job recruiting the most important person, and that was my wife. And we had just a great set of meetings, etc. And I really, wanted to work for a world-class CEO, which I had not before. I believed in what the company was doing. I didn't really understand the culture, but the vibe was good, and I thought I could make a difference. And so Roger, sort of the famous story is sort of on Sunday morning, because he said, all right, you got to decide. He comes to the hotel, has a yellow legal pad. We sit down, and it's like he starts writing some terms down. It's like, no, yes, or I crosses it out. It's like, okay, is this okay? Is this okay? And then he puts an X and a line, X and a line, X and a line. I said, what's that third one for? He's like, that's for your wife. So, I called her down. Roger showed her the terms. She wasn't really excited about leaving California, but she knew I was excited about Citrix. And she looks over at me and she said, okay, I'll sign this, but there's one condition. She said that if this doesn't work out, because we had been software startup migrant workers, so we had been if this doesn't work out, we're going back to California and you're going to get a real job. That's how I went to Citrix.
I had told them when they sent the questions around, I said, I'm going to listen carefully. If he hits all the house points, I'm not going to have to say anything. He did a fabulous job. But, when I met Mark in New York, he said, we talked. He talked. I listened.
That's when you knew you had the right guy?
I said, actually, I said, that's the smartest guy I've ever met in the world. And he knows marketing, and we'd gone through like, little Carter Liverpool marketeers, in and out like a roulette machine. We got to get this guy, but we weren't ready for him then. We weren't big enough. We were too fragile. It was too much. I know, no. So when I saw, actually, this is before the IPO, that we could going to do the IPO, and I called him in a little closer to liquidity. And fortunately, Yvonne came down, and she was tougher sell than he was. It's the single best thing I ever did at TI, other than getting along with Ed.
That's great. So Mark, take us a little forward. So you joined, you started putting the message together, but how much of the message was there? Were you the vision? What was the process from marketing to CEO?
Well, the first thing, actually, from my first day, the marketing team was like 6 people, something like that. They're telling me that, wait a minute, we're launching WinFrame in 2 weeks at PC Expo. And this was June of 1995, and I said, okay, it's like, let's get, like the press kit, when we see the press kit, and all this stuff. They looked at me like what? So, there were bits and pieces and all, and so it was great because we all got immersed very quickly in putting it all together and getting ready to launch WinFrame, which happened on my 3rd week at Citrix, launched the product, and the little guy, is he on your shirt? Anyway, he was known as the pervert. Holding the window, looking through the window. So, and,
So that's the previous marketing.
so then we worked with it, but then, and then, you know, once we launched WinFrame, then it got down to doing marketing, building, you know, distribution, et cetera. I'll never forget this. So then, next thing I know, Bill Burley says, "Hey, you have the partner council. You own it. And by the way, they'll be here in 2 weeks for, you know, like 2 days or 3 days, whatever." I said, "Well, what's that about?" And he said, "Well, you know, these are our partners, and they can go set price." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, what are they going to say?" He goes, "Well, they're going to say that we're over distributed." I said, "What?" It's like, wait a minute, we're going to do 15 million this year. I don't know what, you know, how many units that is. It's like, this is crazy. And so he goes, "I'm just telling you. You know, that's what they're going to tell you. You ask, I'm telling you. You can always rely on Bill to tell you the truth." So I said, okay. So we had the partner. So this is all within like a month, you know. So talk about like getting immersed. So meet everybody. All right, got to stand up and start talking about what we're going to do. And the first thing I said is, you know, I think that, you know, some people think we're over-distributed. It's like, but you know what? I don't think so. I think we have under-demand. And that was it, right? Because that was our job in marketing, to create demand. And that was, you know, and so we spent the partner meeting talking about like customers, how to create demand, how to make partners successful. And that really, you know, that really set the tone and the pattern. And then we put the processes in place to get the right partners and, you know, ramp them up, et cetera. It was a very interesting process. And so by the time, and I'll never forget a meeting that happened around the same time. It was a staff meeting. Roger comes in and says, "I'm ready to tell the board that we're going to put the puck on the ice and go public." And you know, I'm here 6 weeks or something like that. So he goes around the table, and I was sitting over here. I'll never forget it. He goes from left to right, you know, kind of letting everyone weigh in. Everybody's going, yeah. And I'm going, not a chance in hell. and then everyone looked at me and said, "Why?" And I said, well, first of all, we don't have a demand engine in place, you know, and like you go public, you know, like you don't go public and start missing numbers, you know. So, of course, Roger said, "Well, that's why we hired you." I said, "Okay, there's another reason." That we're in South Florida, and we'll never build a large, because of talent and the absence of talent in South Florida for software, we'll never build a large-scale software company here. And you know what? Thank God I was wrong on both.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean,
tell us a little. There was a good story about the vision, like how did the vision video. And,
yeah, you know, I mean, yeah.
For foreseeing where the opportunity was, and how did you bring
when we went public, you know, Ed had a lot to do with articulating, you know, like all the opportunities. And my job was to synthesize all that and make it as understandable as possible. And probably one of the most powerful things we ever did when we went public is we actually created this picture that had our technology at the center, and around in 5 bubbles were sort of the 5 big market opportunities. Remote access was like now, we're doing it right now, and that was really the core of the company. And then around, sort of, not to bore you with all of these, but then the last one was Windows over the internet, okay? And which was sort of the furthest out thing, because the internet couldn't support doing that quite yet, you know, but we had some demos and all. And I think that sort of, you know, created the idea, the message was we extend the reach of Windows, because we were all about, you know, Windows apps and desktops and so forth. So then, I mean, the company just grew like mad with all these amazing partners, and so these guys are here tonight, and warms my heart because I think of the people who built this company. There's thousands and thousands of hands and hearts that, yes, call themselves Citrites because the badge says that, right? But also partners that were part of our culture, part of everything. We thought of them as part of the team. And every good ride, will slow down, right? So you have to, do some things about the future. So in 2001, we were faced with a real big decision. Do we sell the company, or is there enough juice left in the market for us to do a new set of things, so-called Act 2 for the company? And then, so a number of folks in the company got together and some whiteboards and et cetera, and we wrote down 10 big ideas around kind of how we thought the computing experience should work. And Dave Jones was our head of marketing at the time, and he found $250,000, which was very controversial, to make a video that we called the Virtual Workplace.
I remember that at orientation. Everybody at orientation for Citrix had to watch the virtual. Didn't have to, but
Yeah. It was inspired by a video that Apple made called Knowledge Navigator. And so we used that as our template, but expressed our ideas about how things should work. And if you look at the video today, it's actually still reasonably relevant. And it puts people at the center of computing, and it's really about experience and enabling people, as opposed to technology. It doesn't really feature technology; it features the use of technology to accomplish something. And I think that was. And by the way, I was so excited about it, and we unveiled it at our iForum in November of 2001. I kind of botched the intro, the context for it, but on top of that, we played the video. I thought everyone was going to be cheering and all, and it was crickets. And the way I perceived it was people didn't get it, and except for the engineers. Right. So the audience was sort of like, what are they smoking in South Florida? I was aggravated because the marketing, the sales teams wouldn't use it, go out and merchandise it, etc. But the engineers said, oh, so that's what we want to do. And that really, inspired more of the engineering team to get on with innovation and invention, and that's what software companies do. So, it became the template for many, many things.
It's still relevant.
I think so, yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, go out and Google it. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Citrix Virtual Workplace.
I think that, by the way, the thing that's most relevant to today, the Citrix of today, is one of the 10 bullets, because tech companies get stuck around the tech and they think the tech out, right? And to actually scale and all, you have to think customer and value in. And so one of the bullets was, and that then allowed the video to really express people getting things done with a great experience, was to suggest that we have to get to a place where we care about the experience that people get, the human experience and the human value. And once we get there, the sky's the limit. And that's where I think the Citrix of today is, and why its outlook is so bullish.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. So David, 2003. How did you come here?
Well, it's funny. I'm like, if you have 67 quarters now, and now your third child feels. Mark and I have had this long-standing joke about number of quarters, and 67 quarters ago, and it's pretty amazing. But the long story short is that I was involved with a company called Rational Software. I was a young CFO there, and we were just in the process of selling that company to IBM. And I was familiar with Citrix because we had this idea at the time, actually, of doing an ASP, now known as cloud, of course, but an ASP to deliver software development tools as a service. And when it was basically one of these companies where it was either a J2 or a .NET stack, and that was pretty much your only choice. And both of those parties said you have to declare which side you're on, and so we chose IBM. And the rest was history. At the time, I knew somebody I was very close to that had just joined the Citrix board, and he said, "Hey, why don't you talk to Mark? They're looking for a CFO as well." And so, I rolled down here. I've been in Silicon Valley my entire career. You would imagine no place else in the world that people would actually do technology. It doesn't happen. You live in that bubble and you believe that in your heart. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go talk to the CEO of this company in Fort Lauderdale. Her reaction was, no, seriously. Who is it? And so we came down probably in November, December 2002, and Mark was like, we get out of the, listen, this is Silicon Valley, so it's all concrete. Weather's nice, but it's all concrete and traffic and things like that. We roll into the Marriott in Harbor Beach, I think is where we were staying, and to go outside and like, oh my God, this place is beautiful. And Mark assured me, he's like, it's like this all year long. Probably more interestingly is when the first time I met Mark, I was sitting in the bar, I think, in the lobby of the Marriott there, and some guy comes rolling in the front doors on a Segway. Remember, this is 17 years ago. So a Segway was something I don't think I've ever seen in person before. And it's typical Mark. He's got a Citrix hat and his shorts all branded up. And he stops. There's like 5 people stop him as he rolls into the lobby on the Segway. I can see him there, and he's chatting and explaining the Segway. And so he's doing a live demo in real time. I'm just like, this is fascinating. So about 45 minutes later, when the demos were done, it was rolling over, and it was one of those things where we just started talking about, hey, we've got this this company that we didn't describe it this way probably, but we have a single product company. We've renamed it many times over the years. We've got this idea where we're going to take that as a central core. We're going to build out this suite of products. We'll bundle a few things together. Then it'll become a suite. Then it's going to become this platform. This vision of what we were trying to accomplish, and it resonated with me. And obviously, there's few people that are a better, salesperson than Mark at selling the vision and the idea and the passion. But it's probably the passion and the culture that really came through more than anything else. And so, dragging my wife, kicking and screaming out of Silicon Valley, was a little bit, it's pretty literal. I was having to hide her passport for the first year when we were here. Living in temporary housing when the summer hits and the bad storm season, it was a little chaotic. And things set in over a period of time. And the thing that struck me so early on was that Mark was talking about culture. And I'm sure you can give the exact same speech today, but it was very much like, I didn't invent the culture of this company. I inherited it. But it's my job to be the chief culture officer and the steward of the culture and teach people why culture matters, and what that means, because it's going to be your job to be one of those stewards and nurture that and carry that on. And it takes a long time to understand really what that means and why it actually matters. But there's a reason why people that are affiliated with the company for decades come back to talk about Citrix and identify themselves as Citrites. And today I spend a tremendous amount of time with customers, and customers will constantly, ask me, what makes you guys so different? I mean, it's amazing when something breaks, which unfortunately it still does every once in a while. I mean, the people step forward instead of stepping back. permeates so much of what we do. And that's, one of the things that, like any business, goes up and goes down over the years. That's kept me engaged for now going on 17 years. So that's, it's a long answer to my journey, but it's been a pretty amazing ride over that period.
That's great. Yeah, in fact, you're right. The culture is special, and the way customers perceive Citrix, right? They work with us not because they have to, like Microsoft or Oracle or something, but because they want to.
Please
right?
don't tweet that, by the way. Our partners of ours,
Well, actually, that's a question for all of you, right? The reality is we had to dance with the gorilla, right? Microsoft being the big one, and all of you have managed to do that really well, right? And it's a challenge. It was a challenge before. It's a challenge now. But nobody else has done it. Like Citrix is the only company that has managed to work with Microsoft for 3 decades, and we continue to be their top ISV software partner, and we help them. They help us, and it's really a remarkable partnership. But how do you, any of you have thoughts about how you can make that work other than it's important? It's like where's the magic there?
I can distill the simplest answers. We just had a senior exec at Microsoft, do a video about this exact same time. He said, people ask, how do I partner with Microsoft? He says, go look at what Citrix has done, because the reason why the partnership works is every time they sell something, we get money for free. And really, that's true. We embrace and extend a lot of what Microsoft does, and that becomes a very, very simple equation. And the magic, of course, is how do you navigate that in such a way that we don't set ourselves up for us to win, someone else has to lose. That's a non-starter, and I think that we're just carrying on the legacy and the momentum that's been built over the last 30 years.
So look forward for a moment. I'm not sure the group here outside of the Citrix folks, like what the big hairy goal that we've got that you've set, and what's the opportunity for Citrix going forward? Because it's a lot more than just remote access and the thing virtualization that people know us for.
If you really think about what we're trying to accomplish as an organization, from an audacious goal, it's really to be the preferred way to work for a billion people worldwide. And so to do that, we have we're in the process of reinventing what we will describe as the future of work. And what that means is, creating a unified platform that allows us to add value to really the underlying the lives and the work and the inspiration of all the people that are engaged with it. And so we've created a platform over the years that we were describing earlier as, the early phase was about organizing IT, bringing apps together in a way that people can have app catalogs and better manage and deliver applications. A couple of years ago, we really brought the workspace to another level, and we were describing that as organizing work. All application types, whether they were virtualized, SaaS, native, etc., all files and data types, universal endpoint management, and ways to bring it together so it was truly consumable across devices and networks and locations. And really where we're taking the portfolio into the future is much more about how do we guide and predict work, leveraging AI and ML to understand what people are trying to accomplish and remove a lot of the friction, presenting them information in real time when people need things. And it's really interesting because as we move into the next era of technology, we're debating whether it's the context era, but really what it means is technology is practically unlimited at this point in time. Data is free and available to whoever can harness it and use it, and devices are ubiquitous and transient. And so the more that we can give people the right information at the right time to make them productive on their terms is going to be an absolute game changer. And so we're really excited about that new definition of chasing after that billion people worldwide. We're about 100 million already, so we're getting there. But
just 10x left.
We got a long way to go. We got another 30 years, so
that's right. And headquartered in South Florida, believe it or not, right? There's amazing things, and certainly there's a lot of folks here, not Citrix folks necessarily, but the South Florida tech community. And if you're not aware of some of the stories, which you probably aren't until now, it really happened here, and I think we're really going to make a difference going forward as well, well beyond. So I think what I'd like to do is open it up to the floor. I'm sure there's a question already. Why don't we get some mics around and do some Q&A?
So as a former Citrix, I'd like to hear the actual, maybe behind the scenes story about the impasse with Microsoft. You know, I think that would be really interesting in a sense to everybody that, you know, companies face this kind of thing every day, and you guys push through it and have the, you know, have the guts to push through it with that monster.
It's, I may get Nancy and Randy to help me out. Microsoft is not a uniform company. I mean, they have different people with different thoughts. We went to them for an investment way back in '91, and we went out with what I consider one of the more powerful value-add propositions in the world. And it goes something like this. Give us a source license. Let us do our thing. You're over in the LAN PC world. We're gonna go over in this other world that you really don't care about. We're gonna have devices right now that Unix operating system and Unix apps are being bought and consumed as opposed to Windows and Windows apps. It won't cost you a penny. We'll do the R&D, we'll put the product out there, we'll build the business. You will get to sell your applications, Excel, Word, you know, that, into a segment that right now you're getting zero. Zero is a very small number. Zero. Every time we sell something, they get paid, okay? And in those days, we integrated the operating system with our product, so we paid a royalty. Later on, we separated them, and you don't have to do any R&D, and you pick up all this, and it's free shot, no R&D, no support, no whatever. All you have to do is partner with us, okay? So this went on and worked reasonably well, and the issue in my mind was we got to dealing with the wrong people at Microsoft. Because I promise you, Steve Ballmer came to our launch whenever we launched Citrix out back in Burlington. Paul Moritz, Bill Gates, those people understood what our value proposition was, or they wouldn't have invested, they wouldn't have given us the license. Okay, the value proposition never changed, but some people down in the organization maybe were a little not so proud that we were making all this money and they weren't, or something. Who the hell knows, okay? But they decided to play a little hardball, and they did play hardball. And it was like, if you guys don't give us what we want, you know, we're gonna tank you. Okay, tank me. They called me, our stock dropped 60% in one night. We got lawsuits, I got death threats. We got, oh, damn. I mean, it was fun. So I called them up and I said, you got another stick in that bag. You know, hit me again if you want to, but let me restate the value proposition. Here's what we're bringing to the party, and we're gonna keep telling you that until you get it. We rented an apartment. Nancy, Ed, Barry Doxwell, Andy Sturgiotis. Go out there, Jeff, and don't come back until you got a deal. Lay on the damn receptionist's desk if you have to. I don't care what you got. Oh, that's fine. They're trying to hurt us. Let's hurt them back. It's like, no, stick to your story. And the VP at the time, named Paul Moritz, I think, took enough time to look like, what the hell's going on here? And 5 months later, we had our license renewed and everything was fine. The principals understood the value proposition. The thing about Citrix is it's always a value proposition. You got, And if you can keep that message, and then you will be able to work with Microsoft or anybody else in the world. If you can demonstrate the value proposition, you're doing the same thing when you're on Wall Street selling stock or promoting the stock. People's got all kind of stock they can choose to buy. Why buy? And you better have a damn good answer. Okay? Not a guarantee, an answer. And it's the same idea. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Let me say a little more. The USA Today did a front page article, The Mouse That Roared. You know, they came down to reporters, give me the dirt, we're gonna get a story, we're gonna get the deal. The story was so boring to them. They wrote about the apartment. You gotta sell a newspaper or something like that. There was no point in getting out in the press and trying to talk about why we want to fight with those guys. Go ask Ray Norda if he was alive, what it feels like to fight with them, okay? He took $1 billion company and ran it in the damn dirt trying to fight with them. We took a $500 million company and ran it with a lot of help. And $3 billion working with them. So, okay.
Good formula. We have another question over here, but if you have questions, raise your hand so I know where to run with the mic next. Okay, I see one there.
So, my name is Pierre. First of all, I have two questions in one, but I really want to thank all of you for Citrix 30 years. That's a great milestone, and I hope you'll be here for 100 more years. I probably won't be here. Okay. So, first question. Most of the current and former CEOs being from Silicon Valley, which is a great incubation, I'm wondering how many venture capitalists are here tonight, and if there's none, what are you guys planning to do to bring them into an event like this so that we can have a representation? Because outside of Silicon Valley, South Florida is probably the biggest community of technologists and entrepreneurs and so forth. And we rightly need to have the same venture capitalists who invest in California as well as they do here. Okay? Like you were saying, we have 365 days, 66 years, beautiful weather, we can enjoy that. My next question is 50 years from now, due to the innovation in the cloud and things like artificial intelligence on the cloud, are we going to have Citrix Cloud? And what's really your roadmap toward artificial intelligence and everything else? Because mind you, okay, yes, we have a lot of technologists and really smart people in this room, but the feature is no-code code. Okay, and no-code code means anyone is capable of taking an application and make it worldwide, all over, and it can go to China, and it can have 1 billion customers, which we are really looking for. And that's my case.
David, why don't you get going?
If I missed some of those questions. Overall, if I step back and I think about the ecosystem, I mean, South Florida has built up an ever-increasing ecosystem around technology. It is nowhere near the density, of course, of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is a unique animal in a lot of ways, but it's also the reason why I'm part of plenty of CBO groups in the Valley, and a lot of our conversations there are how do we get out of Silicon Valley? And that's simply because of the cost and the traffic and the complexity and the competitiveness. So it's a trade-off. Nothing's ever perfect. And it's one of the reasons why Citrix today is nearly 9,000 people. We operate in 26 countries around the world. Our largest locations, South Florida, Fort Lauderdale is corporate headquarters. This is home. This is where I live. This is where we have 2,000 people. But we have 9,000 people spread around, just for the practical reality of being able to tap into different labor markets and be close to our customers wherever they are. I'd say from a venture standpoint, I mean, there's not the density that certainly you'll get on the West Coast or Boston or elsewhere, but venture community is pretty smart and pretty easy to get ideas visible these days. And so as a member of the community here, I mean, one of the things that we all need to keep working on is more and more focus on education, STEM education, infrastructure, the types of things that contribute to our ability, just that very selfishly as Citrix, to be able to hire and retain really talented people. That's one of the reasons why, as a company, we've worked a lot with everything from the local universities to K-12 to many other areas to try and promote this as part of it. And it's a broader community effort full time. Shifting gears back to AI and artificial intelligence and whatnot. Technology is moving at a pace that I've never seen in my 30 years in the industry. The waves of disruption have gotten closer and closer together, and they're higher and deeper than they ever were. And technologies like AI just allow us to simplify a lot of that complexity and try to present people with information in a more consumable, timely manner. We're investing aggressively across the AI and ML in a number of different areas. We've built out a big analytics platform that we can apply learning models to be able to help with our customer security infrastructure, operational, and as I talked about predicting where the workspace goes, those types of elements come into it. Much in the way you think about some of your commercial applications today, where you're served up things you need before you know you need it. We're going to do the same thing for work in a lot of ways. Do it in a way that makes people more engaged, more productive, more aligned with the organization. So I'd say I agree. I'm not sure how many of those were assertions versus questions, but that's where we're taking it.
And we don't have to wait 50 years. We're there now.
The future is now in a lot of ways. What used to take 10 years from an evolution, that's going to happen in 2 years now.
Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Greenberg. I just want to thank you, gentlemen, and all the people in the room that have created Citrix. It's been a career and a lifestyle. I've raised a family and had a wonderful professional experience for all of these years. Myself and a number of people wanted to come in from our hometowns from around the country and just thank you personally and everyone. That's my comment. And my quick question is, if the 3 CEOs would sign my WinFrame certificate.
I see.
He'll sign it as WinFrame, he'll sign it as MetaFrame, and I'll sign it as ZenApp.
Does anybody else have a report card that we need to send? Tom?
I have my WinView certificate. Can you sign that?
Sure. Go ahead.
My name is Tom Shea, and culture has come up a lot today as a theme. I've been fortunate, and Nancy can tell you, that we wound up, I started the first outplacement firm in Florida 40 years ago, and 30 years ago got to meet Ed and got part of the team here to be helpful to people transitioning out of the organization. And obviously, people are never happy the day that they're notified, but I can tell you, because I deal with lots of companies, the culture here, the fact that someone has been a Citrite, someone has worked in a culture that was willing to take the path less traveled, you're willing to embrace risk and believe in something, that's something people realize now today. They're really proud to say, I worked at Citrix. I was part of this, I was part of that, because you mentioned the disruption of technology, you've never seen it as fast. Well, it doesn't matter what your industry is, what company you're at, technology is changing the world. Every company is a technology company in one way or another. They have to embrace that. And a lot of companies are really threatened by the risk of change. And you guys have lived on that. You've created the change. And so it's amazing. I can tell you this, just comparing you to many other companies you work with, the culture you learn here is something you take somewhere else with you. Nothing's forever. It used to be 27 years in the US, average tenure in a company. Now it's 3 to 5 years. So the important thing is to say, I've been able to embrace change and see the culture that wins. And I want to congratulate the leadership, starting obviously with Ed, but certainly the CEO and those that have brought this way along. It's just an amazing thing to experience, and I've had a unique view of it. I congratulate all of you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, let's see.
One or two more.
Maybe just one. Here we go.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is kind of a unique question, industry specific. In the retail consumer product area, and put Amazon on the side, do you have any thoughts, because the retail industry has been disrupted so dramatically, there's store closings, 7,000 store closings, people are shopping very differently. From a Citrix component, do you just have any thoughts of what retailers have been either very slow to adjusting or what they're missing from your viewpoint that would help them going forward so that they just don't continue to see the carnage that has been going on?
I have a point of view, but Mark?
Go.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier about just simply the customer experience. And the experience of being able to buy something, like take Amazon, for example, an unlimited selection of options from the comfort of your chair being delivered 2 days later was unique and novel. And versus the ability to go to a physical location and may or may not have the product you're looking for in that period of time. And it's just that industry being disrupted by a new technology. I see that coming back the other direction as many retailers in this example are very much focused on how do I create a unique experience that you can't get by sitting in your pajamas, surfing a website, trying to find that thing that you're looking for. And so it's a little bit back and forth. I mean, we see technology disruptions happening all the time in different areas. I think it's just important to understand the consumer more than ever before, because the consumer has that many more choices than they've ever had. And that we see that across technology. We talk about even what we do, the idea of applications, the old story, there's an app for that. That's true. You can get a little app for any single thing you possibly want to do, but that's very, very transient. And the ability to drive that type of engagement and loyalty is all about what is the experience and value that I'm delivering to that customer in real time. And so, we struggle with that in the industry a lot, simply because, over a longer period of time, infrastructure was big and it was heavy. It took years to build it out, and therefore the pace of change was very slow. Today, applications, you download them on your phone in seconds. Infrastructure, you're acquiring it via a service that you sign up for on the web. And those things are transient. They can change in a heartbeat. And that's all comes back to what is really driving customer engagement, what is really driving customer loyalty, and how to harness that in a way that makes sense for whatever vertical industry.
Last question.
Thank you. So I'm Andrea. I had the wonderful pleasure of working with all three of you. And over the years, it just struck me over the years the commitment that each of you have had to maintain Citrix as an independent software company, despite all the rumors that swirled about Microsoft and others. And there have been things in the news this year about Citrix looking to be acquired, and I think all of us who love this company and the culture wonder what your thoughts are on that you can speak to, and what that means for this company that we feel so strongly about.
Yeah. Let me take that one, because but before I answer specifically, the funny part of that, Mark and I used to joke about this constantly, because it was either Microsoft was going to acquire Citrix, or Cisco was going to acquire Citrix, HP, and then it would circle back again to the very beginning. But the confidential reality is that we're a public company, and people reach out to us from time to time, and they have over the years. Big companies, private equity, and that's just the nature of being a public company, or any company. And when they do, we go through a process to, a fiduciary process to consider it. Sometimes it's, they're curious about a single product or division. People have actually had conversations with us about the whole company. But 30 years on, here we are. From my point of view, what I have said publicly is that, I'm building this company for the next, I said 30 years, but for the next 5 years is my time horizon. We are not actively trying to look for a buyer or sell the company. Those are just rumors that find their way into the ecosystem. Donna, I see her in the back, our Chief People Officer from Citrix. I mean, right now, we just laid out our 5-year vision to Wall Street, exactly how we are building and growing this company. And, you know, should somebody pick up the phone and call us one day and put a $30 billion check in front of our board, they would take that because that's their job. But in reality, we're still building a company for, you know, the future, and that's what we have to do. And that's been our sole focus. And so, you know, I'd ask people not to tweet it or comment about it, but because it is relatively non-public. But you know, we're driving the company to build and grow this company. That's the reaction.
Go ahead. So we've got one more episode here with Nancy. Go ahead.
So I'd like to, at this time, introduce Nancy Iacobucci. So for those of you who don't know Nancy Iacobucci, which you should, because she's an amazing person. I give up.
Yes.
On top of being Ed Iacobucci's wife, she's also a technologist and entrepreneur herself. So we love Nancy. But Nancy has something special to present to Citrix. So.
David, can I ask you to join me? Sure. All the stories they told, I can tell you the real inside story. And I lived in Seattle for 16 weeks with 5 guys, and I made them do their own laundry. I was not going to do that. But anyways, in 1998, Ed won international and nationally the Entrepreneur of the Year award given by the Kauffman Foundation of Entrepreneurship. And also, it was also, I believe, Ernst & Young, and also CNN, I think, was involved at that time. Now, Kauffman gives this award every year, and they did something unique in 1998. They had an artist named Denny Dent. He paints people with his hands. And so in order to announce who won that year, Denny Dent painted a picture. And this picture has not been opened since 1998. And after Ed passed, well, before Ed passed, I said, what am I going to do with it? It's gigantic. And it's here. People said Ed was larger than life. Well, guess what? And so he just said, see, if Citrix, I'd love to have it at Citrix so people can identify with who founded the company, as you know, people and stewards like David and Mark and Roger have all brought the company here. And so I wanted to present this to you, David, to the company. I'm hoping you will find a spot for it, but it won't fit in my living room. So, and that here is the founder of Citrix, painted by Denny Dent.
On behalf of Citrix, I just want to say, thank you very much. I think it's wonderful. It's we will absolutely find a good home for it. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I know Ed would appreciate. He's in here somewhere. He's wandering around on everybody's shoulder. For those of you who knew him, that's the way he was. He was everywhere. But he still watches Citrix, I'm sure, and he's very proud of you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, I'd just like to say we very much appreciate the support that everyone has given us over all these years. And I'm sure I can speak on behalf of these gentlemen as well. I mean, Citrix, it really is an extended family. We talk about that a lot with our partners, with our alumni, with our community, and it's it takes a village in all different definitions. And so, on behalf of the current Citrix, I want to just say a huge thank you for everybody for that support. And thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's always fun for me. I joke a little bit about I'll be the one at the end that never gets to talk, but that's the way that I would like it, and I'm sure that's the way that everybody would like it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
paparazzi picture, I think these guys will probably accommodate. Thank you.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at IT Palooza on December 5th. Thank you.